Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on the main screen. After 18 months of deep space travel, it finally reached Kepler-442b. The planet looked perfect for human colonization, the vast oceans and green continents that reminded him of Earth. "Captain, we're picking up some unusual readings," said Lisa Carter from her communications station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "There are signs of human settlement down there." Morrison moved closer to examine the data. "That's impossible. No human ships have ever traveled this far." Ryan Brooks, his second-in-command and longtime friend, joined them at the console. "The readings are clear, Jake. There are definitely humans on that planet. Thousands of them." Amy Davis, the chief engineer, looked up from her station. "Sir, the energy signatures suggest they're using primitive technology. No advanced weapons or spacecraft." Morrison felt a mix of excitement and confusion. How had humans reached this distant world? The New Horizon was supposed to be humanity's first mission to this system, ordered the ship into orbit, and prepared landing teams to investigate. The first contact team discovered something amazing. The planet was home to various human tribes who lived in primitive conditions. They spoke an old form of English mixed with other languages. Their leaders explained that their ancestors had been brought to this world long ago by beings they called the Sky People. But those beings had never returned. Morrison spent days talking with the tribal leaders. These people had built a simple but stable society. They farmed the land, raised animals, and lived in peace with most of their neighbors. They were curious about the newcomers and eager to learn about the homeworld their ancestors had left behind. But Earth Command had different plans. When Morrison sent his reports back to Earth, the response was immediate and harsh. Colonel Patricia Hayes, speaking for the Colonial Council, gave clear orders through the long-range communicator. "Captain Morrison, you will establish Earth's authority over these primitive humans immediately. They are squatters on what is now our planet. Use whatever force necessary to make them submit to proper colonial rule." Morrison felt sick hearing these words. "Ma'am, these people have lived here for generations. They have rights to this land. We should work with them, not against them." "Your job is to follow orders, Captain, not to make policy," Hayes replied coldly. "Begin subjugation operations immediately." Morrison refused. He believed humans should help each other, not conquer each other. But his crew disagreed. Ryan Brooks called a meeting in the ship's main conference room. "Jake, you're making a mistake," Ryan said. "Earth Command promises big rewards for officers who follow orders. We could all be rich and powerful when we get back home." Amy Davis nodded in agreement. "The Colonial Council has already decided. If we don't follow orders, they'll just send another ship to replace us." Lisa Carter spoke up. "Jake, I'm sorry, but the crew has voted. You're relieved of command." Morrison couldn't believe his closest friends were betraying him, but worse was coming. Instead of just removing him from command, they decided to eliminate the problem completely. They told the tribal leaders that Morrison was a dangerous criminal who had tried to destroy their world. Then they left him on the planet's surface during storm season, taking his communicator and weapons. As the New Horizon disappeared into the sky, Morrison realized he was completely alone on an alien world, surrounded by people who now saw him as their enemy. The first 3 weeks nearly killed Morrison. The storms on Kepler-442b were unlike anything he had ever experienced on Earth. Lightning struck the ground constantly, and the rain felt like ice needles against his skin. He found shelter in caves and ate whatever plants looked safe, but his body grew weaker each day. The planet's wildlife was dangerous. Massive creatures with sharp teeth hunted in packs during the storms. Morrison had no weapons except rocks and sticks he could find. He learned to hide during the day and move only at night when the beasts slept. On his 21st day alone, exhaustion finally overcame him. He collapsed near a rocky cliff, unable to take another step. The rain poured down on his unconscious body, and death seemed certain. That was when Elena Reeves found him. Elena was a tall, strong woman with dark hair and scars on her arms from many battles. She led a small group of tribal warriors who called themselves the Shadow Clan. They were different from the other tribes Morrison had met. During his first visit to the planet, Elena's people nursed Morrison back to health in their hidden camp deep in the mountain caves. As his strength returned, Morrison learned why the Shadow Clan lived apart from everyone else. "We refused to bow to Queen Victoria," Elena explained as they sat by the fire. She calls herself the ruler of all tribes, but she is nothing but a tyrant. Morrison had not heard of this queen during his initial meetings with the tribal leaders. Alina told him the story. Victoria Stone had been born into one of the largest tribes. She was smart and ruthless, and she had spent years building alliances with other tribal leaders. Those who joined her received better weapons and more food. Those who refused faced attacks from her growing army. "Where does she get these weapons?" Morrison asked. Alina's face darkened. "From your people. Your former crew makes deals with her. You give her guns and metal tools in exchange for the blue stones our planet produces." Morrison felt anger building inside him. His crew was not just betraying him, but exploiting the entire planet. They were supposed to be explorers and scientists, not arms dealers. "Victoria has united most of the tribes under her rule," Alina continued. "She forces the smaller clans to work in the mines, digging up the blue stones. Anyone who refuses becomes a slave or dies." Alina showed Morrison around their camp. The Shadow Clan consisted of about 200 people who had been exiled from their original tribes for refusing to submit to Victoria's rule. They lived like outlaws, moving from place to place and surviving by their skills and courage. Morrison realized these people were fighters, not farmers. They knew how to hunt the dangerous beasts and survive in the harsh wilderness. Alina herself was an exceptional warrior who could fight with both traditional weapons and her bare hands. "Why did you save me?" Morrison asked Alina one evening. "Because you spoke against conquering our people," she replied. "Your own crew told everyone you were evil, but some of us remember your words during the first meetings. You wanted to treat us as equals." Over the following weeks, Morrison learned the ways of the Shadow Clan. Alina taught him how to fight with spears and knives. Other clan members showed him which plants were safe to eat and how to track the dangerous animals. Morrison discovered something surprising about himself. Away from the comfortable life aboard a spaceship, his body grew stronger and his mind sharper. He had always been a good leader, but now he was becoming a warrior. Morrison's transformation amazed everyone in the Shadow Clan. Within 2 months, he had learned to fight as well as their best warriors. But more importantly, he began teaching them things they had never known before. "Your fighting style is good for single combat," Morrison explained to a group of warriors during training. "But we need to think bigger. We need to fight as one unit, like a machine where every part works together." Alina watched as Morrison showed her people how to form battle lines and coordinate attacks. He taught them military tactics that Earth's soldiers had used for centuries. The clan members learned quickly because they were already skilled fighters. Connor Walsh, a young man with clever hands and a sharp mind, became Morrison's closest ally in developing new weapons. Connor had always been good at making tools and fixing broken items, but Morrison's knowledge opened up new possibilities. "If we mix this local metal with heat from the volcanic vents," Morrison explained, "we can make steel that's stronger than anything your people have used before." Connor's eyes lit up with understanding. Together they built a forge hidden deep in the caves. They created swords, spears, and arrowheads that could cut through the crude weapons Victoria's forces used. Morrison also taught Connor how to make simple explosives using materials found on the planet. During these months of preparation, Morrison and Alina grew closer. They trained together every morning, pushing each other to become stronger and faster. Alina taught Morrison how to move silently through the forests and how to read the signs that warned of dangerous animals approaching. "You're not the same man we found dying in the rain," Alina said one evening as they cleaned their weapons by the fire. "This planet changes people," Morrison replied. "It makes you strong, or it kills you." Alina smiled. "You were always strong. You just needed to find it." As Morrison's confidence grew, he began planning raids against Victoria's operations. The Shadow Clan had always avoided direct conflict, but Morrison convinced them they could strike back without losing many people. Their first target was a mining camp where Victoria's forces were making slaves work day and night to dig up the blue stones. Morrison led 20 warriors in a surprise attack at dawn. They freed 30 prisoners and destroyed the mining equipment before Victoria's guards knew what was happening. Word of the raid spread quickly among the tribes. People began talking about a mysterious leader who fought against the Queen's tyranny. Some said he was a ghost who could appear and disappear like smoke. Others claimed he was a warrior from the old stories come back to life. Morrison planned each attack carefully. He studied Victoria's trade routes and learned when shipments of weapons arrived from his former crew. The Shadow Clan began ambushing these deliveries, capturing Earth-made guns and ammunition. Connor used the captured technology to create hybrid weapons that combined Earth design with local materials. Soon, Morrison's fighters had equipment that was better than what Victoria's regular troops carried. Alina became Morrison's trusted lieutenant, leading her own group of warriors in coordinated attacks. She had a natural talent for strategy that matched Morrison's technical knowledge. After 6 months of raids, Morrison controlled a network of freed slaves and rebel tribes. His forces had grown from 200 outcasts to over 1,000 fighters spread across the continent. Victoria finally realized she faced a real threat. She began sending larger patrols to hunt for the mysterious rebel leader, but Morrison's people knew the land too well to be caught easily. Morrison stood on a high cliff one evening, looking out over the territory his forces now protected. Soon, he told Alina, we'll be strong enough to face her directly. Morrison knew the time had come to reveal himself. He called a secret meeting with leaders from all the tribes that had joined his rebellion. They gathered in a hidden valley where torches lit up the darkness. I am Captain Jake Morrison, he announced to the shocked crowd. I am the man your Queen Victoria and my former crew told you was a criminal. The tribal leaders murmured among themselves. Some had suspected his true identity, but hearing it confirmed changed everything. My own people betrayed me and left me to die on your world, Morrison continued, but you saved me. Now I offer to lead you in a war to free all our people from Victoria's tyranny. Alina stood beside him as the leaders voted. One by one, they pledged their warriors to Morrison's cause. By dawn, he commanded an army of 3,000 fighters. Morrison's first target was Victoria's main stronghold at the Great Canyon. She had built a fortress using Earth technology where she stored weapons and kept hundreds of slaves. The canyon's steep walls made it seem impossible to attack, but Morrison had a plan. Before the assault began, Morrison received unexpected help. Amy Davis contacted him using a stolen communicator from the New Horizon.
Jake, I'm sorry for what we did.
Her voice crackled through the device. I want to help you. Amy provided crucial information about the fortress defenses and Victoria's battle plans. She also revealed that Ryan Brooks was growing suspicious of her loyalty. Be careful, Amy, Morrison warned. If Ryan discovers what you're doing, he'll kill you. The attack began at sunrise. Morrison had spent weeks studying the canyon's wildlife and geology. He knew that certain sounds would trigger rock slides, and that the giant lizards living in the canyon walls became aggressive when disturbed. Morrison's forces surrounded the canyon from above, while Alina led a team through the narrow entrance below. The rebels used drums and horns to create loud noises that sent massive rocks tumbling down onto the fortress walls. The lizards, angry from being awakened, poured out of their caves and attacked anyone wearing Victoria's red uniforms. Morrison had ordered his people to wear green cloth that smelled like certain plants the lizards avoided. Victoria's defenders found themselves fighting both rebels and wild animals. Confusion spread through their ranks as the carefully planned defenses crumbled. Morrison rappelled down the canyon wall with a select group of warriors. They landed inside the fortress courtyard and began fighting their way toward the central keep where Victoria waited. That was when Ryan Brooks appeared, carrying an Earth-made rifle and wearing body armor. Hello, old friend, Ryan said with a cold smile. Ready to finish what we started? The two men who had once been close friends now faced each other as enemies. Ryan fired his weapon, but Morrison rolled behind a stone pillar. Using skills Alina had taught him, Morrison moved like a shadow, staying out of Ryan's line of sight. Morrison threw a spear that knocked the rifle from Ryan's hands. Then they fought with knives in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Ryan was bigger and stronger, but Morrison had learned to fight like the planet's predators. When Ryan stumbled, Morrison struck with deadly precision. His former friend fell and did not get up again. Meanwhile, Alina had cornered Queen Victoria at the landing pad, where a shuttle waited to carry her to the orbiting ship. Victoria raised her hands in surrender, but Alina showed no mercy to the woman who had enslaved so many people. By sunset, the Great Canyon Fortress belonged to Morrison's forces.
With Victoria dead and the fortress captured, Morrison stood before thousands of freed slaves and rebel fighters. They cheered his name and called him their savior, but Morrison had bigger plans than just winning battles. "We are no longer separate tribes fighting each other," Morrison announced from the fortress walls. "We are one people, and this world belongs to all of us." The tribal leaders wanted to make Morrison their king, but he refused the title. Instead, he created a council where representatives from each tribe could make decisions together. Alina became his co-leader, helping him unite the different groups into a strong alliance. Morrison's people worked quickly to fortify their position. They used captured Earth technology to build better defenses and communication systems. Connor Walsh led teams of engineers who combined tribal knowledge with advanced science to create new weapons and tools. The real test came 6 months later when Earth Command sent another ship to investigate why the New Horizon had stopped sending reports. The vessel Starseeker arrived in orbit carrying 200 colonial marines and advanced weapons. Captain Robert Hayes, who commanded the Starseeker, expected to find a quiet mining operation. Instead, his sensors detected organized military activity across the planet's surface. "This is Captain Hayes calling the New Horizon," he broadcast. "Respond immediately." Morrison answered the call from his command center in the former fortress. "This is Jake Morrison, rightful leader of this world. Your colonial council has no authority here." Hayes was shocked to hear Morrison's voice. According to his records, Morrison had died months ago. "Surrender now, and we might show mercy," Hayes demanded. Morrison smiled as he looked at the tactical display showing his forces. "Captain Hayes, I suggest you land your ship and discuss terms peacefully. Otherwise, you'll discover what happened to the last people who tried to conquer this world." Hayes ignored the warning and sent down attack shuttles carrying armed marines. Morrison was ready for them. The planetary defense forces Morrison had built moved with precision. That impressed even Alina. They used the planet's dangerous wildlife as weapons, driving giant lizards and flying predators toward the landing zones. Hidden warriors attacked the shuttles with guided rockets that Connor had designed. Within hours, half of Hayes's Marines were dead or captured. The survivors retreated to their ship, but Morrison had prepared for that possibility too. Captured New Horizon crew members had provided detailed information about ship systems. Morrison's engineers had built electromagnetic pulse weapons that could disable spacecraft electronics. When Hayes tried to escape orbit, his ship went dark and began falling toward the planet. Morrison personally led the team that captured the Starseeker after it crash-landed in the northern continent. Captain Hayes surrendered when he realized his situation was hopeless. Standing in the captured ship's bridge, Morrison transmitted a message directly to Earth using the vessel's powerful communications array. Earth Colonial Council. "This is Jake Morrison speaking from the free world of Kepler-4, for to be. Your attempts to conquer our planet have failed. We offer you one choice. Trade with us as equals, or face the consequences of continued aggression." Morrison ended the transmission and turned to Alina, who stood beside him wearing the insignia of a planetary defense commander. Do you think they'll listen? Alina asked. Morrison looked out through the bridge windows at the world that had transformed him from a betrayed space captain into the master of an entire planet. They'll learn to respect us, he said. Just like everyone else who underestimated what humans can become when they fight for their freedom.